Welcome back. Let's talk about functions. If you're new to programming, I want you to take away from this video a sense of what it looks like to run a command or to use a function. And I'm going to use those two terms to mean the same thing. So here's the kind of thing I mean. Type along with me if you have your console open. You can type seq and then parentheses. And notice I only had to hit the opening parenthesis and it automatically added the closing one for me. And then inside the parentheses type 10 and then hit enter. And here's the output. It seems to be a list of numbers that goes up to 10. So you probably have a guess about what that number 10 means. Let's test the guess by doing seek 15. And it looks like now we're counting up to 15. Let's try two more experiments and then we'll talk about what it's all about. Let's do seek 5, 20, which produces this. And seek 20, 5 produces this. Okay, so these are all examples of running a function. The function is called seq, which stands for sequence, and it produces a sequence of values. The way that you can tell that you have a function is it's a single word that has parentheses afterwards. And every function needs some information to do its job. So if I said, hey, computer, I want you to make a sequence for me, the computer's going to want to know things like how high should it go? Or where should I start? Where should I end? And so what you put inside the parentheses are the information that the function needs in order to do whatever it is you want it to do. And it's pretty normal for functions to have different options for how you give it those inputs. So here, the sequence function, you could give it one input, where that's just saying the ending value, or you could give it two inputs, where the first one is the starting value, and the second number is the ending value. So as you can tell here, the order matters. 5, 20 is not the same thing as 20, 5, because the number in the first position has a specific meaning for that function that's built into the function. So the first number is the starting value for your sequence, and the second position is the ending value for your sequence. R has a different way that you can give functions their input values, where you can give them in any order you want as long as you use the function's special built-in names for those inputs. So let me show you what I mean. Instead of typing seek 5, 20, I could type seek from equals 5, comma, to equals 20. And this does the exact same thing. And you might say, well, what's the point of typing from equals and to equals? Because that's like extra typing, and it's no different than this. The point is, this lets you pass the inputs in any order you want. So I could reverse the order. I could say sequence to equals 20 from equals 5. And even though 20 is the first number, I'm still starting from 5 because I've labeled 5 I've assigned 5 to the special from variable that's built into the sequence function. So the thing I want you to take away from this is when you look at other people's R code, like if you want to look up how to do something on the internet, you're going to see this kind of thing a lot. You'll see a word that you're not sure what it means, and then you'll see some parentheses, and you might see a bunch of commas, and in between the commas, you'll see what looks like variable assignment. You'll see a word equals a number. And what I want you to do is whenever you see a pattern that looks like that, I want you to think, aha, this is a function that's doing something, and these are all the inputs to the function. And each input has a special meaning, and you can guess at what the meaning is from the variable that value is getting assigned to. And this all sounds rather complicated if you've never programmed before, and don't worry, it is kind of complicated, but you get used to it as you start to work with these ideas yourself. So don't panic yet. Why don't you give the problem set a little try, and hopefully over time this will start to feel comfortable and familiar to you. A few other things to know. You don't have to pass numbers directly as the input to a function. Instead, you can use variables or expressions. So instead of typing seek from 5 to 20, I could assign 5 to a new variable A, and I could assign 20 to a new variable B, and then I could do seek from A to B. And you'll notice that's the same thing. Or I could do seek from A minus 3 to B times B. And, whoa! And that's giving me a sequence starting from 2 going all the way up to 20 squared, which is 400. So you can put whatever expressions you want as the inputs, as long as those expressions evaluate to be numbers, and then those numbers are used as the inputs to the function. The last thing I want to show you is very powerful. So far we've only had variables that store individual numbers. But when you're programming, a variable can store any kind of information you want. It could store text, it could store pictures, or it could store lists of numbers. So instead of just writing sequence up to 10, I could assign that sequence of numbers to a new variable. So I'm going to call it mylist. I'm going to use the assignment operator, seek10. And you can see here in the environment tab, I've got a variable mylist. And this is information about what kind of information is inside the variable. So it's saying it's a list of integers that goes from 1 to 10. But here you can actually see the value that's been saved in the variable, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, up to 10. And the reason that's helpful is because there are other functions that are designed to take a list of numbers as input. So what if I wanted to know the sum of this entire list? There's a built-in sum command where I can say sum mylist, and it says the sum is 55. What if I wanted to find the mean value of my list? Mean mylist. And the mean value is 5.5. What if I wanted to know the length of my list? I could type length mylist, and there's the length. And notice this is still the same pattern. I've got a word, and then inside parentheses is the input. So the word is like a verb or a noun that says what this function is going to give me back as an answer. And then inside the parentheses is the information that the function needs to do its job. So if I want to find the mean value of something, I've got to give it a list of numbers to find the mean value of.